This morning I'm recording from Fresno, California. We just flew in from Dallas. Yesterday, Kim and I was celebrating with Harvest Time Church in Tyler, Texas. Great church, great people, great pastors. We send greetings to Pastor Matt, Gregory, his wife, his children, and the great church there at Harvest Time. It was their homecoming weekend, and got to preach to them yesterday. Tremendous service. It was so meaningful for that church, and we were honored to be there. We have a lot of great new friends now. So they had the homecoming service at 10:30. Then we got to enjoy a family called, their last name is Church, the Church Family. That's appropriate name for a singing group, a family singing group from Birmingham, Alabama. They did a tremendous job. So enjoyed meeting them and excited about having them come to Abundant Life as soon as we can. So then we, later in the evening, flew from Tyler to Dallas and Dallas on into Fresno. So here it's about 2 in the morning, and so I'm pre-recording this, obviously, for you. And trust you had a great weekend. I know Abundant Life did at home. I want to thank Pastor Matt Sunday morning and Brother Jeremiah Collins Sunday evening. And folks, it's a great time to be serving the Lord right now. I've been talking to you, talks and tales from the life of Lester Sumrall. We followed him all the way through South America. Ended up last Friday and in Paraguay, and then we actually Friday in Chile. And I told you we had one more country, and that's Argentina. Well, I'm not going to Argentina today because I want to tell you a different story that involves Lester Sumrall that I just learned hours ago. In the course of my dealing at this homecoming of this church, I dealt with missions. Was my topic, and it was just so. It's just so appropriate for this church. And I met a missionary. We got to eat dinner with a missionary and his wife and daughter, and we sure enjoyed that. And then he actually took us to the airport this evening. And so just in our conversation, he was telling me that he got to spend several months with different men of God. I think 4 months with Leonard Ravenhill early in his missionary career, and many others we talked about. And then he told me a story that I wanted to share with you today for this Monday devotion. His grandmother was an old saint of God from Louisiana. And they had a little Pentecostal church, and the ladies were having prayer meetings. Among those ladies was Lester Sumrall's mother. And another one of the ladies was Jimmy Swaggart's mother. And those ladies attended the same church. And I believe he also told me Jerry Lee Lewis's mother was a part of those prayer meetings. And so there's some names that many of you recognize. So he told me that they were having cottage prayer meetings often throughout the week at different times, praying for their church. And they had been reaching the lost, people been getting saved, and their little church was filled up. And in one of those prayer meetings, the Lord impressed someone, one of the ladies, and she said, the Lord said, He's going to give us this property on such and such highway. And there were several acres of an uncleared field, several acres, 11 acres, I believe it was. And he said that after that prayer meeting, those ladies started going different days of the week to that property. They didn't know who owned it, had no idea, but they were claiming it for their new church property because they felt the Holy Spirit had impressed them that that was theirs. So by faith, they acted upon that, and they began to clear that property. And so those ladies would go out with shovels and hoes, and they just started clearing brush, chopping weeds. And he said that his grandmother told him that almost every day they were working, a man would come by in a horse or horses and a wagon, and he would stop and ask them what they're doing. Or the first time he stopped, ask them what they're doing, and they said, well, we're clearing this property. He said, well, do you all own it? He said, no. They told him no. He said, well, who owns it? And they said, sir, we don't know, but the Lord has promised this to us, and so we're clearing it. And he said that they worked, maybe one day a week, would go out and clear, and every time they were clearing that property, that same guy would ride by, but he made fun of them. He mocked them. They just turned a deaf ear to it and kept working. And so he said that for seven consecutive months, they cleared that property. And like I said, some days they worked one day a week, maybe sometimes twice, but they just kept working, and month and month and month went by, and the guy would, every time they were out there, whenever it was, whatever day they chose, that guy would happen to come by and mocked them, made fun of them, told them they were clearing somebody else's land, it wasn't theirs, there'd never be a church there, and they just kept working. He said that his grandmother told him, now mind you, here's Lester Summerall's mother, here's Jimmy Swaggart's mother, here's Jerry Lee Lewis's mother, here's his grandmother, whose son would end up becoming a minister, and now her grandson is a missionary. So we're talking generational. These women of faith kept working, and said the day they finished clearing that 11 acres, that guy stopped, come by in his wagon like he had every time that they were working, got out, and said, he introduced himself to him and said, I'm the owner of this 11 acres. And I want you to know that the deed will be prepared in the name of the church. You guys can have this 11 acres. Well, the Lord had promised them that months and months ago, but they did more than just hold on to the promise. They walked their ground, if you please, if you want to call it that. By faith, they cleared that property, and they didn't pay a penny for it. The guy that had been mocking them, the guy that made fun of them, the guy told them they were foolish, was the owner. And he gave them that property. Think about that. He gave them that property. So my little devotion this morning, and I'm going to go to bed, is this. What promises has God given you? Are you working as if they were yours? Because if He promised it, it's sure. So how about this Monday morning? Let's do like Lester Sumrall's mother, Jimmy Swaggart's mother, Jerry Lee Lewis's mother, and my new missionary friend Darren's mother, grandmother. Let's start working our promise. God's up to something in your life right now. The Lord bless you. See you in the morning at 8 o'clock.